name is Lynette Barbieri, everyone, and I am here with Maria Fox Giambrone on my financial tips with Bella. Good morning, Maria. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. You look so happy and relaxed and sunny in the background I saw before.
Different way of life. Definitely a different way of life.
So I wanted to talk to you this morning. I've been reading a lot, and I live in the state of New Jersey. I'm from New York originally, and I know firsthand about, the expenses in New York, in New Jersey, the crowded situation in New York, everything happening with the pandemic. But aside from the pandemic and everything else, New York and New Jersey is actually the top two states for the last 10 years that people are fleeing and moving out of state. And I have 4 kids. So my daughter is 28. I have a 26-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 19-year-old. And I know when we sit around the table and talk with them and my nieces and nephews who are all around the same age, my daughter has 2 kids in a 2-bedroom townhome that she bought move-in condition with no garage, no basement. And, they're busting out at the seams, and they all talk about where they want to go. And, it's because of the taxes and how much it costs here. So when I met you, I know you work from home and you run your own business, but you were in the process of knocking down your entire house to the ground, right? And rebuilding a big house for a lot of money on this small space. And I asked you why, and you said, well, the schools, right? I want to keep my kids in the schools. And then you traveled back and forth to Florida for business, and all of a sudden I see a U-Haul. And there you are, you're moving. So what made you decide to do all that?
Oh, there's so many reasons and condensed to not a lot of reasons, right? So there's a million little reasons, but the biggest reason was when the pandemic happened. Right before the pandemic happened, we were literally supposed to get out of our home to knock it down, exactly what you said. And my builder was like, all right, like the beginning of March, he's like, all right, let's go, go into your rental. And I said, you know what? Something was holding me back. And I kept on saying, I don't know if let's not do it. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Plans were done. We were literally about to start. And so COVID happens and we're stuck in the house for, I think at that point it was like 3 or 4 weeks. And I said to my husband, what are we doing? We're spending well over $1 million on a house where if this happens again, if the pandemic, if another pandemic comes about or anything happens again, we could only enjoy our backyard for 3 months out of the year. Like we can't go anyplace. We can't do anything. Like if we're going to put money into a house, let's do it where we could enjoy it year round. And we literally Googled the best school district in Florida and we booked an Airbnb for a month, 5 weeks. And we came down to Florida. We looked around for a bit and we found a home that we're building now.
So you shopped around for a while, right? And you said your house was going to be over $1 million. And I don't know what the square footage of that was, but when you shopped around in comparison and you left the state, what was the difference in square footage and price when you looked?
I was doing a 4-bedroom home on Staten Island. The square footage was about 30, without the basement, it was going to be about 30 something hundred square feet.
Nice house.
Yeah, over $1 million. I'm getting a set for about the same amount. I'm getting a 7-bedroom, 7,200 square foot home.
Wow. Now, are you having this home built?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, the prices and the taxes are absolutely insane. The median price in New Jersey right now is about $350,000. That's the average. So if you're going to go into a decent area, you're not going to get anywhere close to that. In New York, they said that the median average price right now is in all the 4 boroughs, not New York City, $680,000 now. So a $680,000 house on Staten Island, let's say, the taxes are about $8,000. Now here, the taxes for that are probably closer to $20,000. So, you probably got more square footage for the price because you're doubling the price here. But the average taxes on that is about $20,000. It's insane.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, there's so many other benefits of moving out of state. It's pension friendly. My husband's retired, so from the city. So
People
this,
don't realize that. No.
no, it's huge. And even state income tax, there's no state income tax in Florida. So
I know the state income tax, and there's no state income tax in Florida. Um, I have many clients that have come close to retirement and had a conversation with me and said it just makes sense
right.
for me to leave because of XYZ, like you said, with the pension and everything. I mean, and here I feel like everything we're bringing in, we're just giving back out. And people who live in New Jersey and work in New York are have a double problem. My sister-in-law's a nurse in New York, and her husband works in New Jersey, and they live in New Jersey. They get killed, So I do see, Florida's beautiful, but many areas, people go to Arizona. I have a friend whose husband retired from the township early. He's working part-time. They bought a trailer to a beautiful, it looks like a one-bedroom apartment inside. It's beautiful. They're going to drive to different places, stay a month at a time, and then they're ultimately going to have their place built in Tennessee. She goes, I'm just out. Her both boys moved and they're on their own. She goes, I'm just out. And I go, really? Like, I don't know. And I'm thinking about it. I'm talking to my husband. I'm going, I don't know. It doesn't, it just doesn't sound like a bad idea anymore. And I know you work from home. You run your own business and your husband's retired. So you're running a business together. So you could live on Mars, basically. You could buy, I saw in Groupon, you could buy property in Mars. But, you just feel like, and I talk to people who, they've been furloughed, or they were on furlough and then they lost their job. I know a lot of people who've been out of work since March. So you were fortunate enough to make a good income. So you didn't leave because of the income. But when you take that income and then your house and you're spending it wisely, you have so much more quality of life, and stuff like that. So you could afford it, but why afford it if you could get that much more for your money?
Right. Exactly. And I mean, even when we go to the grocery store, in some places, it is a significant amount less, just to buy steak or, bread and stuff like that. And even
everything adds up.
Everything adds up. And car insurance, like, it is significantly lower. It's once you move out of the tri-state area, it's a huge difference.
I'm a proponent of a financial needs analysis. You should put your numbers in one day of what you did spend. Like, look at that and look at what you spend now, and look at that. Even if you said this is going to be like a surprise vacation money, and you just put it away, it makes a significant difference. It really does. It's just like I tell people, if you are, working and you're trying to save money and you're trying to lower your expenses, the first thing you don't do is you don't get takeout food every day, and you don't go to Starbucks on the way to work. And I make people write that all down and show them at the end of 3 months, with what you show me here, you do weekly, look what you would have had. And then you tell me you can't afford XYZ, but you can.
Yep.
Well, people don't realize it till they write it down, and that's what a lot of people think that they think like you think and I think. You get attached to your home, you get attached to your school, your mother lives by. My mother always was involved with me with my children when they were little. My family lives right here. But at the end of the day, you just have to look at what's better for you. Yep. Financially, if it's a huge move all around and it's going to be a better quality of life, it's just a brick and mortar. Your family's your family everywhere you go. And I'm, it took me a while too. And this last year, I'm totally into that mindset myself. And, if it was for me this year, we would have had a sign on the lawn, but my husband said we have to wait until my little Victoria has 1 more year left of college nearby. So I said, okay. But I mean, I just feel that if they don't do something with these taxes, and these prices and the way everything is, they are going to lose people even more so in New Jersey than New York.
Yeah, they're pricing people out of the states. They really are. I'm in a group here for Florida, and it's like a newbie group to the area. when I tell you how many people are coming from New York and New Jersey, you cannot even begin to imagine. Like, I honestly don't feel like an outsider here because, every couple of houses there are people moving in. It really is, it's insanity.
Florida's been like that, where New York and New Jersey would go to for a while because it's closer. You can get home to your family. It's beautiful. But I have a friend in Texas. I have a friend, that friend going to Tennessee who has other friends there. When I talk to people, like, their plans are not, yes, I'm living in New Jersey for the rest of my life. Yes, I'm living in New York for the rest of my life. Like, almost nobody. And when I talk to the millennials, they have no intention of staying here, and that's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad that they had to make that happen
Well,
because
I think that for us, I know for you, for me, like, our roots are in New York, New Jersey, right? Like, and typically in our age bracket, we plant our roots there and we never leave. So
right,
when I said I was leaving, like, you and I were just talking about this, when I said I was leaving, my mother about had a heart attack. Like, how do you leave us? And I'm like, come with us, or we could commute back and forth. It's not that serious, but we're conditioned to think that we have to stay.
right.
you know I know I was conditioned, my husband was conditioned that this is our life. We're native New Yorkers. We're not transplants, right? We are native New Yorkers. And it was a quick decision, but it was quick, meaning we did it fast, but it was like, we were like, we have to do this. Like, if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. And so far, so good. Like, everybody's adjusting well, and we're loving it. But you have to take that conditioning out of your head. Like, when I worked in Manhattan, I worked my butt off to just get by. Just, like,
That's
to
the thing.
really
People are
just,
working to just get by. On top
yeah.
of it, the average rent in New York is 3,300. My daughter's first apartment in New York was the size of, when I sat in your dining room, maybe it was the dining room and that area, that the whole entire bedroom, apartment, bathroom, they were paying $2,500 a month.
And I told you that the rental that we're in now, while the house is being built, it's a 3-bedroom home, bigger than my house in Staten Island, and it's $2,000.
You can't, and the average in New Jersey,
Yard on a lake, it's crazy.
in New Jersey, $2,000 gets you a basement apartment, or an apartment, very crowded apartment complex. And houses are very few and far in between that you could even rent. I rent out my mother's house in Staten Island to this couple for $3,000 a month, only because they've been there for years and they have kids and they take care of my mom when I can't be there in the apartment and all this kind of stuff. But she kisses the ground I walk on, because how could you get a 3-bedroom house with a backyard that I let her have full reign on for $3,000 a month in New York? You can't. It's impossible. And now Staten Island, you can't drive. You can't don't even get me started on that stuff. But so I wanted to talk about that with you today, because I wanted to hopefully inspire some people that there are hard times because of the pandemic, but also before the pandemic, people were struggling, and because of the prices in New York and New Jersey, you have your typical corporate 9 to 5 job. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, and that's why they have 2 or 3 different jobs. And if you're going to do that, you really should sit down with your significant other or yourself, if you live by yourself, and evaluate what you're spending, what you're making, and just look at different areas and see how you could stretch that dollar. Just because financial stress is the #1 cause of illness. It's the #1 cause of women having heart attacks, actually. Financial stress, not even men. So we only have a certain amount of time to live. We all know life is short, and why not evaluate that and make some decisions according to how it's going to prolong your life and maybe the life of your family. So thank you for that story, because I know you were a native Staten Islander, as I was. And I know when I left with my husband to come to New Jersey, we were like, wow, and anybody else that we left there mostly stayed there, and they think you're crazy when you leave. But, I think it's about happiness. It's about quality of life. And what good is it if you make money and you can't enjoy it?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
I can't wait to see it. I want to see
I
pictures.
hope you come and visit.
I will absolutely come and visit. I'll find an Airbnb and come and hang out and visit. And who
Stay
knows?
with us. The house is big enough. You could come and stay with us.
I'll come stay with you, and maybe I'll find something over there to go back and forth to until, until I get my husband out. But thank you so much, Maria, for
Thank
joining
you for
us,
having me.
and say hello to your husband and your family. And I hope to talk to you soon. And I hope people learned something today.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.